Now, Hurricane Sandy, do you fear it may delay the election? This is a stunning development that appeared today. We know that Superstorm Sandy will have some kind of impact on the election. It could be an inconvenience for some or delays in the election. But you're not going to believe what I'm about to tell you. So-called federal officials last week said that it's state officials' call whether to push back the election. Did you know that? Federal law mandates that presidential elections be held on the Tuesday after the first Monday in November. But, listen to this, if a state, quote, has failed to make a choice on the day prescribed by law, the electors may be appointed on a subsequent day in such a manner as the legislature of such state may direct. So you have an emergency threatening to disrupt voting. And so under such conditions, the Federal Election Assistance Commission, that must be Acorn, a few goons with nightsticks. The Federal Election Assistance Commission, a few goons with nightsticks, advises the following. State election officials should, quote, review existing state law to determine if the governor has the power to cancel an election or designate alternative methods for distribution of ballots. Did you hear this? Alternative methods for distribution of ballots. So, for example, they can distribute ballots with food stamps. They could distribute ballots with government cheese. And so, therefore, FEMA now is dealing with the possibilities of delaying the election. A FEMA administrator, Craig Fugate, not to be confused with the Fugazi in the White House, but the FEMA administrator, Craig Fugate, not Fugazi, Craig Fugate said, we are anticipating that based on the storm, there could be impacts that would linger into next week and have impacts on the federal election. That's what he said. Then he went on. He said, our chief counsel has been working on making sure that we have the proper guidance. In other words, they want to see if they can get away with stealing the election. He said, we're going through the regulatory policy and making sure all that's in place and we can support it. Like they supported the ambassador in Benghazi. Now, there is some precedent for this. The New York City mayoral primary was delayed in September 01 after the 9/11 terrorist attacks. However, I do not know of a precedent for delaying a presidential election. But then again, we have no precedent of a man as incompetent as Obama, so we don't know what might happen. Hurricane Sandy, could it push back the election? Could it? I mean, I'll ask you the question, but what are we going to do? Just, you know what I'm saying? NPR now says there's an 8-point swing, putting Romney in the front. A new national public radio poll put out by the leftist NPR, which had President Obama leading Mitt Romney 51-44 4 weeks ago, now has Mitt Romney on top 48-47, with the Republican benefiting from his debate performances. That's interesting. Among critical independent voters, though, Romney won big, with 37% saying they're now more likely to choose him compared to 21% for Obama. So we don't know. You know, anything could happen, but it's an interesting fact. Who will the hurricane hurt more, Democrats or Republicans? This is the Savage Nation. The phone number is 1-855-400-SAVAGE. I'm finding my rhythm. It's later in the day. My audience is finding me. I'm in San Francisco, live and strong on KSFO.